Coming to you from the mountains and the plain. The only conservative voices brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Otto.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. As always, my name is Max McGuire.
And this is Joe Otto.
And today, we're going to get back to basics because another coronavirus lockdown is upon us. The left is demanding it. This time they want total lockdown. We've already seen it happening in Florida, in California, even in Texas. We'll see some crazy stuff going on in Texas. We'll talk about that. But they want another lockdown. They want us to lock down every time there's a spike because there's no way to deny it at this point. At least part of their calculus is that they want to lock down the economy because they want to stop it from rebounding. There's a lot of people. There's a non-zero number of people in Democrat leadership around this country who want to lock down the country because they think it'll defeat Trump. So that's what we're experiencing right now. Lock it all down. Ruin everyone who was able to have their business survive the last lockdown. Sorry, you're going to have to go out of business again. It's just incredible.
You know, by the way, I was just reading something that Governor Polis said that he was going to shut down bars again today at 2 o'clock. Right, this kind of wing back and forth. I think that we are headed towards a war, and I don't think that they understand that they're saying that they want to defund the police. Well, we're going to have a purge. You're going to see people that are constitutionally conservative that come out in a large number and basically slam these leftist politicians. So California just closed all the things that they closed, right? Closed bars, closed indoor seating.
We have a cut of that. We can play in a little bit,
And so all of a sudden, Governor Polis comes out and says, hey, we don't have a spike. We don't have a problem in our state, but we're going to shut down as well. We're going to shut down bars as well. So the rules are changing, and they're actually weaponizing our society now. They're literally using businesses and families as shields for the left to win elections. And if you don't see it as that, you're not paying attention. Like we are flying in the face right now of some of the biggest issues that we've faced as a country, and it has nothing to do with the pandemic. It has to do with the weaponization of our society for an ideology. So listen, we're going to have to get to the point where we get back on the battlefield and we start fighting this. And if they start shutting down, I don't know if you heard what they're doing in California, but people are literally organizing right now to not have riots, but literally to flip over cars and burn things. They said, hey, listen, no, listen to me. You have conservative groups and you have citizens, even people that are on the left, that are joining together. You have motorcycle gangs, the Mongols, the Hells Angels, that are actually coming together. These are people that have never been on the right side together collectively, that are having meetings. Never. They're having meetings together about how to go after these politicians. When you get people like that, when you get people in large groups that come together, that form a union and say, look, we are not the enemy. They are the enemy. Then what you have is you're going to have the type of unrest and the type of protest. You thought the Antifa knew how to throw a protest? Oh, no. Get a bunch of pissed off people that work really hard and you're trying to take away their living, all because you want to win an election, and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned that Gavin Newsom, governor of California, is locking their state down again. We have a clip of him explaining what's going to be forced to be closed. Let's go to cut 3.
Sectors that we're closing statewide, again, restaurants, wineries, movie theaters, family entertainment, zoos, museums, card rooms, and bars, to outdoor activities to the extent possible. Now, with counties on the monitoring list, we have this list: fitness centers, places of worship, offices for non-critical sectors, personal care services, That includes hair salons, barbershops, and indoor malls.
So they're closing down everything. Any indoors. He said that if you could do it outdoors, it's fine. But I don't know if you noticed, Joe, it said bars have to suspend all activities. Even if they had the ability to go outdoors, they're being required to suspend all activities. Now, you've been in the restaurant industry. You've had investments in the restaurant industry before.
Right.
This is insane to announce indefinite, no-end closures just without warning, right? These restaurants, talk about what goes into it, because these restaurants have bought food.
Right.
They've bought product. They've bought
Right.
liquor. Right. They've invested in this reopening, and we saw this happening in New Jersey too, where restaurants had bought all of their produce, all of their meats, all of their foods, all of their liquor. Right. They brought people back onto the payroll, and all of a sudden New Jersey said, "Oh no, actually we changed our mind. You're not allowed to reopen." And all of that food has just gone to waste, and they're out all that money. Talk a bit about what it would mean to a bar owner to have to go through all of this, plan for a reopening, and then be forced to shut down again. It's almost like it's worse than the original closure.
Yeah, so they'll lose thousands of dollars. Thousands, if not tens of thousands. The bigger the restaurant, the bigger the exposure is, because that food's going to go bad, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just the restaurants. I mean, we're talking about they're shutting down massive amount of the federal government's not even prepared for this, because what are you going to do? You're going to do another PPP? You're going to give away another couple, $3, $4, $5 trillion?
That's what Democrats want.
But the Democrats literally are doing everything they can. If you're a Democrat and you can't see this, I can't help you. I can't help you. Nobody can help you. Antifa is winning right now because we are not having the courage to stand up and tell these leaders, get out. We don't have the courage. Yeah. As business owners, we think, oh, I can't do it by myself. Yeah, restaurants will literally lose thousands, Max, and that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning of what's going to lose.
You mentioned, what are we going to do? Print money. Mr. Producer, let's throw up image number 5. This is Alyssa Milano, who in my opinion is a B-list or even C-list actress. Not going to read the profanity, but she says, we're losing this battle, and all of the a-holes are talking about our kids going back to school. Nope. She says we need a national shutdown now, print cash, give people universal basic income until we get this pandemic under control. That's literally what they're saying to do. And obviously she's a C-list actress, though our producer, Josh, said he had a crush on her when he was younger. I'm so sorry, Josh. That's the opinion of the left, that
print cash.
Shut it all down, close everything, just print cash. Yeah, as if that's how little of an economic understanding they have, that they think you can get through this just by printing cash, creating money out of thin air, and sending it to people.
Tone deaf.
Hyperinflation.
We're talking about a tone deaf group of people. They're tone deaf. They have no idea, absolutely zero idea, what the ramifications are for this long term and protecting people's kids and grandkids. Guys, listen, if you're paying attention right now, if you're in California, if you're in Texas, if you're in Florida, and you decide that you're not going to stand up against all the stuff that's going on, I can't help you. I can't help you. I don't think anyone can, because at some point you're going to have to lay aside everything, risk it all, and get out there and force these politicians to do it, right? To protect the people.
You will. And so it's interesting that we're not going to throw it up there, but churches are now on the indefinite closure list in California. But the governor himself gave the green light for this massive protest to happen just a couple weeks ago. Let's go to cut 2.
Yeah. But that didn't cause it. That didn't cause it.
That's L.A. Was it Hollywood? That is a massive Black Lives Matter protest that was given the green light by Governor Newsom and by the L.A. city government.
Yeah.
Look at all those people. If there is a spike in California right now, it is impossible to say that had nothing to do with it.
No. Have you seen the stupid amazing articles, Max, that came out that said it actually helped the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah.
I mean, these people are morons. We literally are dealing with the stupidest human beings known to man. And there are politicians and these loony left just radicals. They know what they're doing, Max. They know what they're doing. The only people that actually get to eat during this entire thing is big corporations. They're the ones that get to stay open. So they tell us that a mask works, even though a mask doesn't work. It's never worked. In a million years, it doesn't work. I mean, not licking people probably works, but a mask is not going to work for you, right? But they make you wear a mask. They take away your ability to run your business, and they let big businesses stay open. I mean, I don't even know how you can't, how people can't see it.
So there's a reason that when scientists are actually handling the live viral cultures, live bacterial cultures in these top level facilities, there's a reason that when you see them, they are in an airtight suit with an airtight helmet on and 5 layers of gloves to prevent any of the sharps from piercing the suit, right? There's a reason that they go through that level of protection, because just a cotton T-shirt, which is what the CDC now recommends you use if you don't have any real masks. Cotton cloth will not protect you. Like, if you told someone in those viral research labs, okay, we're not going to give you the actual like hazard suit. Instead, you're just going to wear this mask that we bought for you off of Etsy. No one would go into the room to handle the live virus, right? Because it wouldn't protect them. Now, there is reason to believe, just like if you were to cough in your arm or in your shoulder, in your hand, right? Anything that can block particulates, your breath, the droplets of water that are in your cough, in your breath, anything that can block that will stop some viral spread. But no mask, short of that contamination suit that you see in the movies where they go into hazmat areas, nothing short of that is going to prevent the spread of the virus. It may help it not reach as far, right? It may keep people a little bit safer, but the virus is too small for an Etsy mask, a mask that you bought off of Etsy that some grandma made in her basement, right? The virus, the size is too small. The mask won't protect you from that completely. And the CDC even admitted that months ago when they were asked, should everyone start stockpiling masks? They said no. Masks won't protect you. It actually could make you less safe. That's from the CDC. That's not fake news. That was their old argument.
Right.
And now they're admitting, like, we didn't want people to go out and buy the real masks, but they change their mind every week. So like it's just incredible. And now you have in California that they're locking everything down. Rhonda just wrote in the Facebook comment section, Colorado numbers are good and don't justify a shutdown. You're right. However, Polis offered our hospitals to Arizona COVID patients. Why?
Yeah, so let's bring them in here.
Our hospitals are then at numbers that can justify a shutdown. Yeah, no, that's as reasonable a hypothesis as we've heard, right? If you have no high COVID numbers, the last thing you'd want to do is airlift COVID patients into your state. It just seems pretty obvious. But no, I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but when there's so much going around and you dig into the stuff, and we're going to get into the Florida numbers in a second, when you dig into this, you find so many discrepancies, it's hard for that conspiracy theory part of your brain not to start kicking into overdrive.
Yeah. I mean, why in the world are people just not waking up, Max? Why? Hey, if you're listening, call us. 888-441-1121. Yesterday, I had a disagreement with one of my friends. My friend actually, I was sitting in his restaurant, and he walks over, and I'm sitting down, and I go, how you doing? He said, I'm pissed. And I go, what? And he goes, I'm pissed at people like you who won't wear a mask. And I was like, well, all right. That's fine. I'm glad you feel that way. And I was sitting down. I was getting ready to meet a friend for lunch. But I sent him a text after I left and said, I won't be back. I'm not coming back. You want to come and yell at me? And he used a little bit of profanity with me, and I basically told him to, bugger off. But, he's actually got this in his head that somewhere along the line that if we just wear masks and we just comply, everything will be better. That is the problem. That is the mentality where you become a parrot for people like the governor of California, the governor of Colorado, where you don't really have an understanding of reality. You didn't do any research, right? But they're telling you that, hey, we're going to keep punishing you because we can do that because we're kings and queens and you're our royal subjects, right? But we're going to continue to do that until you comply. This has everything to do with breaking the spirit of Americans. This has nothing to do with.
This is this borders on what's it called? Battered wife syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that if you're abused enough in your household, eventually the abused victim starts believing that they deserve it.
And that's it. That's where we're at.
That's
We're
their
there.
fault. That's what they're trying to say. That
We're there.
oh no, it's not us who are the tyrants locking down your society. We have to do this because you just won't wear masks. You just won't stay inside. Oh, but we're also gonna sign off on BLM, Black Lives Matter protests in the streets with no social distancing and no masks. So they're allowed to do that. But if it spikes after that, we're still gonna blame you. So it's not us that are the tyrants. It's you for not doing a good enough job. It really is a twisted form of battered wife syndrome. It's incredible.
You know what's gonna end up happening, Max? They're gonna start burning down, chaining the doors and burning down the news stations. Right? That's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, you're pissing people off to the point where they're like, I have nothing left to lose. You already took everything from me. What else do you want?
Yeah.
People are defaulting. I can just use as an example. People are defaulting on student loans at a record pace right now, like 70%, 70%.
Federal student loans are still technically suspended. So the only people that would be defaulting on student loans would be anyone who took from a private borrower. If you went through the federal government and you did your whole FAFSA and all that, if you took out a loan that is being held by the federal government, payments are still suspended. And I know that because I have stupid $50 a month payments that just get auto withdrawn and they haven't kicked up yet, and they were auto suspended.
So here's the article. Let me just see if I can pull up the article. 71% of loans from two major institutions, student loans, are actually in default right now.
Yeah, so that's two major institutions. Those are private loans. Those aren't being held by the Department of Education, which is the majority. But it's still true. People are going to be defaulting on everything.
And
if you don't let them work, they won't be able to pay.
And who gets paid right now, Max? Who gets paid?
I'll tell you. Let's throw up image number 4. It's the teachers union that's still going to get paid. Throw up image number 4, Mr. Producer. LA Teachers Union is refusing to reopen their schools unless certain conditions are met. And we should have that image. It was in the email I sent over to you.
It's coming up.
The LA Teachers Union, and I highlighted it just for everyone to see, and I'll read it for people who are listening to the podcast without the live stream, which if you aren't, make sure you also watch the live stream. It's very fun. So these are the conditions. Throw it back up, Mr. Producer. They want privately operated, publicly funded charter schools to be shut down. They want police to be defunded. Medicare for all government-run health care is passed. They're demanding a statewide wealth tax implemented. Housing for homeless, fully funded. They want financial support for undocumented students, illegal aliens. They want a federal bailout because the CARES and HEROES Act provide funding for K-12 through 12 that fell short. That's all the demands that the LA Teachers Union, they voted 83% not to reopen. And the teachers union is demanding all of those demands. Defunding police, abolishing charter schools, right? Medicare for all, financial support for illegals, federal bailout, full housing for homeless. Unless you do that, they are refusing to go back to work, but they're still going to get paid. They're still going to get a paycheck. They're just not going to go back to work. And Joe, you understand this.
This is what happens when you pander to the weak. This is what happens when you pander to people who are terrorists. This is what happens. And by the way, let's stop here for a minute, right? If you're listening right now, I need you to hit the share button. So share this with your friends and family. Obviously, you know that Facebook does a really good job of suppressing any voice that we have. Obviously, we use about 6 or 7 different platforms out there, and we know that we're actually doing something right when we have platforms that we have, like our website, that gets thousands, tens of thousands of people that actually watch and listen to these live, yet we go on to Facebook and only 47, 48 people. So hit the share button, share it so we can actually get this voice out. Listen, we're not going to win unless we all stand together, unless we all at least let everyone know that, hey, they're not alone. You're not standing alone, and you're not the only one that feels that the left is out of control. You're not the only one that feels that this sense of entitlement is destroying our country. So, so there we go.
Yeah. So the reason that the schooling is so important is because it's so important because public schools are the leading source of childcare for working parents.
Right.
Right. If you don't have a public school, there's no one to take care of the kids during the day, and the parents can't go back to work. So it's kind of like a two-pronged assault. If they can't force all the businesses to close, they simply close the schools so that no one can go back to work. it's incredible that we've reached this point where the LA Teachers Union won't go back to work, not until the coronavirus is gone. That's not even their demand, right? They're not even demanding the eradication of the coronavirus. They're demanding housing for homeless people, funding for illegal aliens, defunding the police. Joe, I talked to Keith about this yesterday. If this was about safety, the last thing you'd want to do in LA public schools is to take police officers, school resource officers out of the schools, right? If this truly was, we're not going to go back to work until we feel safer. Taking the only person with the ability to stop a school shooting, stop a gangland shooting, taking them out of the schools is not the way to make it safer at all. So the whole thing is a crock. The whole thing is a lie. It's a sham. They want this closed because they want it closed. Plenty of countries have reopened schools, and it didn't have a negative effect on anything, right? At the very least, the science is still not out on it. To say that no, schools can definitely not happen no matter what, schools must remain closed. Oh, and by the way, that means all parents are going to have to not work and you have to stay at home. It's just part of this ultimate goal to create this universal basic income, it's socialism. Like the idea of the government just paying you to do nothing and you're happy with that's socialism. That's spreading the wealth around and taxing the rich even higher for it. They're trying to use this to push their ball across the finish line. We can't let it happen.
And it's actually bigger than just ball across the finish line and not letting it happen. You have to stand up. I mean, if you're listening to this, you have to be willing to sacrifice everything to get them to stop doing what they're doing. Max, they allowed tens of thousands of people to go into the street just a couple weeks ago. A week ago? 4 days ago? 5 days ago? How long ago was that?
For last month. I mean, in Portland, Oregon, they've had the 45th straight day of street protests. If Portland, Oregon sees a spike, they cannot claim that had nothing to do with it. You just can't. And to say that it actually helped stop the spread of the virus is absolutely insane. I want to bring up this because there was a report that came out yesterday from the Florida, I think it's Department of Health. I want to make sure I get it right so we don't get fact-checked or taken off the air. Let me read it. It is from the Florida Disaster Department. They put out basically numbers for their state. And Joe, you know this, that one of the metrics that states are using to decide whether to lock down or not is the percentage of total coronavirus tests that come back positive. The goal is to keep it under 5%. That's what they say. If we're under 5% total tests coming back positive, we're in good shape. If we're over 10, we're in bad shape, and we need to lock down to stop the spread. That's the narrative. That's what they say. So Florida came out this week, and it was actually yesterday. They came out with this yesterday. I want to make sure I get the number right. Let me scroll down to the bottom. They said that they had over 11%. Yeah, so 11%. It's a round number. 11% of the total case tests being done in Florida are coming back positive.
Right.
The problem is that if you actually look through the data, and they show each lab that performed tests and how many were positive, how many were negative, over 400 of the labs that have been conducting tests for Florida patients, over 400 have reported 100% positive rate. Now, what that means is over 400 labs have conducted tests, and 100% of the tests that they say they've conducted have come back positive. Now, 100 plus of those are labs that have only conducted 1 or 2 or 3 tests. So it's entirely plausible in that case that they conduct one test, it's positive. Yep, if it's the only test that they conducted, that's fine. But I want to throw up these images. Let's start with image number, 7?
And why is this so important, Max? Why is this so important? This is important.
This is important because when you cook these numbers and you report a higher percentage of total cases coming back positive, it creates that statewide number and makes it look like it's over 10. So right here, right at the top, Orlando Health is reporting 98% of the total tests that they've recently conducted were positive. 512 were positive. They're reporting that only 10 of the tests were negative. Here's the problem. Fox 35, the local Fox affiliate, reached out to Orlando Health and asked them, how is this possible? How are you reporting a 98% positivity
This is good,
rate?
folks. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Orlando Health came back and said, oops, we got it wrong. It's not 98% positive. It's 9.4% positive. They're off by a factor of 10. So that's a big deal. There are other ones. Orlando Veterans Medical Center showed a positivity rate in the data. Actually, go to image number 8. Showed a positivity rate of 76%. A spokesman for the VA called Fox 35 local affiliate and said that does not reflect the real numbers. The real numbers is not 76% of total tests are positive. Only 6% were positive. It keeps going and going and going. Over 400 of these labs reported 100% positive.
They're all
That's
liars.
not even including the ones
They're
in the
all
90s.
liars.
So
They're
whether they're
liars.
liars or whether the data's wrong,
No,
to
Max,
use that
they're
data,
doing it on purpose.
well,
It's
I
all
don't
being
think
done
that
on
the
purpose.
VA. I don't think that the VA is deliberately trying to lock down the government, lock down everything. And it's possible that there are, right? It's entirely possible. The problem is, regardless of what the actual cause of that is, when you're using flawed data like this to lock down a state, and you say if it's over 10%, we're going to lock it down, and there are 400 that have 100% total, and we know there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of fraud in there. Right? There's a lot of fraud in the ones reporting 90s and the 80s. When you know that the numbers are wrong, it isn't that hard to get that number down from 11% to 9%, and if it does, then there's no lockdown. Right? That's how narrow of a number this is. We're teetering on a razor's edge here. Just a couple of labs giving results like, oh no, sorry, we were off by a factor of 10. That's what Orlando Health said. We're off by a factor of 10. And we're not 98%, sorry, we're 9.4%. That alone can skew the numbers. And if the numbers were real, you'd have no lockdown. So it's not saying that there's necessarily malice here. It's not saying that these people are doing it on purpose. But when the numbers are this wrong, you can't just believe them whole cloth. You have to go through them. And good on Fox 35, the local affiliate in Orlando, reaching out and actually pressuring them to give an answer. Because when the entire economies of these states are at stake, you cannot get it this wrong. You just can't.
But Max, they are getting it this wrong. They are. And not only are they getting it this wrong, but it's actually, we're dealing with a bigger problem. Everywhere it's like whack-a-mole. Everywhere we turn, we're having to hit a new whack-a-mole, right? A new thing that pops up, a new part of chaos that pops up and is creating chaos in our society. And then by locking us down, it creates this tension in our communities, in our families, in our homes. Like they just don't care about people. These are sociopaths. We have an enormous amount of sociopaths that have infiltrated our government and our leadership. That's a true statement, right? And I'm sorry, but they have an agenda. They have an agenda, and you don't matter. So everyone that's listening, you don't matter. You don't matter to them. As long as you pay taxes and you give them 40% of what you have, as long as you follow their rules, as long as you adjust yourself to their agenda, as long as you're willing to become weak because of these outside influences that come in and say, hey, listen, we want to destroy America from within, as long as you run away from a virus, as long as you're willing to run away from a virus, to lock yourself in a hole because you're scared of a virus, then they win. They win.
So you talk about how people in power are sociopaths. They're also some of the vainest people we've ever seen in our lives. And I'm, of course, talking about Andrew Cuomo, the man who has single-handedly resulted in more families losing their grandmothers and grandfathers than probably any other significant event in our history. It's incredible what he did in New York, forcing nursing homes to admit COVID-positive patients. My wife's grandpa was in one of those nursing homes. He got COVID-19. He survived. He's in his 80s. He's one of the lucky ones. But it is not debatable that was caused by the addition of COVID-positive patients being transferred from hospitals to that. But I want to release this. Let's go to image number 1. This is what Andrew Cuomo released yesterday. This is a poster. This is a poster designed by him and drawn by an artist somewhere. It says New York Tough. It's a poster he wants to sell to celebrate how New York did it right. Now, you'll notice right there, it's Donald Trump sitting on the moon. He's the man on the moon. I'm not going to describe this because this is so warped and twisted. I don't think I can get it right. So let's let Andrew Cuomo explain what this means. Let's go to cut 1.
Javits Center, we're pulling down the curve together, right? 111 Days of Hell, the New Rochelle hotspot, first hotspot cluster, testing, tracing, nasal swab, cute little button nose. I'm driving once again. One of the few benefits of this. I get to drive myself now. Subway disinfection. We've turned the corner, mask up, social distancing. The sun is on the other side of the mountain. We just had to make it to the other side of the mountain. There's the man in the moon. It's just the flu. Phase 1, we're now coming down the other side. Boyfriend Cliff is there.
What in
the
the
truth, they will do the right thing. They made the boyfriend look like Zach Fink. I'm not sure why. Who's pulling down the curve? New Yorkers, healthcare workers, the essential workers, out-of-state volunteers. 30,000 people from out of state volunteer to come help us.
Wait for it.
I have my 3 daughters there. That's Captain. They have him a little paunchy. He's on a diet. He's not that bad, but he's on a diet.
Let's cut it there.
wow?
So
This is actually a leader. This is an actual leader. Max, what are we dealing with? Josh,
I don't know.
dude, come stab me with something, please. I gotta wake up. Because I'm living in a world and I'm looking at this going, what the heck are we dealing with? This moron said, my 3 daughters and my fat dog, and
let's throw up image number 1. Put image number 1 back on the screen while we talk about this. This is the poster that he commissioned.
Yeah.
The people pulling everyone down the mountain. He put his 3 daughters in the poster.
Yeah.
And his dog in the poster.
Yeah.
As if they're the first responders. Donald Trump gave New York City everything they needed. No one went without a ventilator. Everyone had access to PPE. And he's commissioned this official poster with Donald Trump as the man on the moon, looking like an idiot.
Yeah. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a lunacy that people are like, hey, nobody can actually believe this. Nobody could actually follow this. Folks, you're following it. Look, it's the same thing that I say that if you allow or you want to be associated with a party that has pedophiles, rapists, and closet racists, if you want to be associated with that, you're complicit in that behavior. You are complicit in the behavior of letting them get away with this if you don't stand up. You're complicit in it. We lose our country. It's because of you. It's because you did not want to stand up. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. You either want to stand up for your country, or you don't. It's pretty simple, right? You either want to stand up and take some risks, or you don't. I take risks every day.
That is an official government poster.
Yeah.
That they're spending on.
Yeah.
New York is spending money to mass produce. Throw it up again. Image number 1. We're throwing it up on the screen again.
Mass produced propaganda. State mandated propaganda. This is the example that you would have if you were in a communist nation, if we were actually talking about a socialist nation.
Their propaganda would look better because this is actually drawn out by Andrew Cuomo. He basically plots it out and he pays someone to draw it, right? You'd actually have real propaganda, if not something like this. But so New York is spending money on this. They just spent thousands of dollars to paint what they call a mural, but it's not a mural. It's just the words Black Lives Matter on Fifth Avenue, right outside of Trump Tower. So they spent all this money in mass producing posters. They spent all this money putting Black Lives Matter on the streets. Now New York has the audacity to ask Trump for federal bailout money because of the damage that the rioters and the looters did. And Mr. Producer, you can take the image off the screen. It's incredible. It's priorities. Like, New York is still paying the legal fees for illegal aliens trying to fight deportations. They're still doing it.
Right.
To come to the federal government and say, we need help? No, cut that. How about you don't mass produce posters? They're stupid. and like really
propaganda.
bad.
And propaganda. And propaganda. And a lie. And a lie.
How about you don't pay dozens of people overtime to paint the words Black Lives Matter on the streets of New York? How about that?
In front of the Trump Tower, just to be an ass, as if you represent everyone in the community. Man, but the issue is that even the obvious becomes unobvious. The obvious is that, look, yeah, all lives matter. Black lives matter. Asian lives matter. They matter. And we started this conversation, Max, by giving a little and saying that there's an accountability issue that needs to be solved with bad police officers. So they solved that problem.
I'm gone. I'm off that issue. They lost me. I agreed with them. I
Right.
agreed with them for a week. They lost me. Nope.
That's what I'm saying. As you get one week past it, and now it's the slippery slope all the way down. Now we just take everything, take down every statue. Every white person's a racist. Oh, you all have privilege. Blah 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 blah. No personal accountability. No actually work for something. Get over. Nobody said life was going to be fair. Nobody promised life was going to be fair when you were born. Nobody did. Sorry, life is messy, and people are sometimes bad, and you got to deal with the bad, and you got to deal with the good. But do Black Lives Matter? They do matter. But now you're trying to make it a statement where we have to walk over it every single day as if other lives don't matter. Like the woman that was gunned down on a bridge by BLM members.
She wasn't. I don't think she was on the bridge. I think that the shooter was on the bridge.
They were on the bridge and they gunned her down. Yeah, they on top and they shot down on her. Right? Shot her 3 times in the head. Right?
Yeah, because she had the audacity to say all lives matter.
Yeah.
Because apparently, if you take the phrase lives matter. Listen, we all agree that lives matter. If someone is alive, that life has value, and they shouldn't just be killed indiscriminately. What the problem is in our society today, you can only put so many descriptors before the phrase lives matter. If you say Black lives matter, they agree. Asian lives matter, they agree. Native American lives or indigenous lives matter, they agree. But when you get to white lives matter, you become a racist. When you go to police lives matter, you become a tyrant. Right? If you say all lives matter, that's the worst. God forbid you say the words all lives matter. You get shot and killed for it.
Yeah. So
this is crazy. And that's why I say they lost me. I was their ally. What happened to George Floyd never should have happened. I was their ally for a couple of days. Then they burned down Minneapolis. And I said, nah, I'm not involved in that. I'm not going to get involved in that. Then they ransacked cities all across the country. Nah, I'm not going to do that. They looted Fifth Avenue. Nope, you lost me on that, right? There's 13, 14 kids have been killed in the violence that's kind of stemmed from all these protests, and the result of defunding the police and ordering police to stand down. More kids have lost their lives,
right,
than unarmed black men last year.
And they don't care. They don't care because that's not what it's about, Max. It's not what it's about. It's an election year that's being funded by Soros and these other pedophiles and rapists and closet racists to destroy our communities. That's what they are. That's what they are. Hey, Max, did you know that there is actually an organization that's actually forming across the nation right now? There is an organization that's forming across the U.S. that is going to band together all sorts of different organizations, replace some of these anemicies that happen in chambers of commerce and restaurant associations and all of these lobbyist groups that say they stand up for people that don't. Do you know about that organization? Have you heard about it yet?
Sure, go ahead and tell everyone.
So it's called FEC United. That's Foxtrot Echo Charlie United, right? You can go to fecunited.com. So this organization, pretty neat actually, and we're going to talk a little bit about it down the road, but it stands for faith, education, and commerce. And the idea is those are the 3 pillars of our society, those 3 pillars of our communities. And so we want to be able to give churches and places of worship the opportunity to have a ceiling above them, feel like they can stand together with others. We believe that there's power in numbers, and we can come together, and that way they can actually support and protect their congregations, their flocks. So we have one part that's going to work on faith, and then there's another part that's going to work on education to get kids back to school, because the next pandemic we're going to have is if we don't get these kids back to school, that pandemic is going to be kids committing suicide and mental health issues and things that we're not prepared for. Third part
nutrition.
Right.
Nutrition.
Right.
For so many kids across the country,
Yeah.
the school lunch is the only nutritious meal that they have in a given day.
Right.
And to remove that, it's going to have catastrophic consequences.
So, and then the third part is commerce, right? That's businesses. So we want to give business owners the ability to stand together, but we also want to have some teeth in it. And so, yeah, I've volunteered to be a part of this organization that started in Colorado and is actually moving to places like Michigan and Utah and Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, California. And so, but the organization is designed to empower people to become have a membership in this, so that they actually have a share in this. They actually become an owner in this organization, and then as they pay into this organization, it can actually do things to protect those businesses as well, much like the chamber is supposed to do, or the restaurant association, or some of these other associations that basically just stand for the politicians. So it's going to have more teeth and more. It's going to have lawyers that basically have the ability to sue. We've actually just started down the process of working to hire a couple of attorneys in this. And then we have these two other parts of the organization that I'm going to talk about for a second. And one of which is policy and politics, to basically have a season of recalls. So recall as many people as possible that are not standing for the American people, not standing for the people in the community at every level, right? So not just at the state level or the federal level, but even in the community level. And then replace
HOAs, everything.
And replace them with people that stand for and can go back and listen to the people in the community. So again, giving power back to that community. And then there's a part that is on the other side, this other pillar, that is, frankly, it's protect and defend, right? So it's an organization that is firmly embedded in what we do with FEC, that is basically, they're the Minutemen. These are the people that basically sign up to become the protectors of our community. So if Antifa shows up, or anyone shows up to try and spray paint or loot, we can show up 500, 1,000, 2,000 strong. And these are people that are ex-military, military, ex-law enforcement or law enforcement, people from the community that want to stand up, people that will be armed, people that won't be armed. And at a moment's notice, we're going to use technology in order to be able to say, hey, listen, we need to launch, 500, 1,000, 2,000 people because we have this thing going on in a downtown in a state. So we built this, and then we built technology, and I should say we, because I'm a part of it, so I can say we, but we built this structure so that we can actually hold people accountable in the places that matter. Right, to make sure we protect our communities, right? That we're looking at policy and politics. We're forcing them to actually take an oath of office to say, you will protect us, that you won't serve and create legislation that some, drug company came in and dropped on you and said, I'm going to give you $25,000 to your campaign so that you can actually push this bill through so we can make billions of dollars. So
so all good stuff. Where can people go if they want to get more information and want to sign up for it?
So fecunited.com, fecunited.com. And so we're still working on getting all the things launched, but you can actually sign up there. You can also, give a little bit if you want to help the organization. And then we have a bunch of other stuff that we're building on the back end. So we'll have a portal that gives people the ability to use some of the technology to talk to their leadership in different states. So most of it's been done in Colorado so far. And I saw that how the organization is actually maturing. We've got some amazing leaders that are represented across the nation that are a part of it, and I think that. And
is there a place that people listening can go to sign up if obviously it's primarily happening in Colorado right now, but if they wanted to open up a branch in their city or their state, absolutely. Is there a place that people can go to put their name in to see if they can get that started?
Yeah, so when you go into fecunited.com, it'll literally have a place where you can donate or sign up. You hit the donate one, and you can still sign up and donate. Obviously, it's going to take quite a bit of effort on behalf of all of us to give to this cause in order to make this happen. This is not a pipe dream that somebody just came up with and said, "Oh, let's start this organization." This is very well thought out, and
and the goal is to never again allow a lockdown, never again allow schools to be closed, never again allow churches and synagogues and mosques to be closed.
And they're doing it again in California, right? They're doing it again in California.
They're already doing it again, right?
Yeah.
So we've been saying never again, never again, never again, and they're just saying, screw you, we're going to do it again, and you can't stop us. So this organization is, the goal of it is to be the organization that fights back. Because, you're right, the Chamber of Commerce isn't going to fight. No. The Chamber of Commerce is too worried about whether or not DACA, the amnesty program for illegal aliens, is going to stay on the books. That's what they care about. They care about keeping cheap labor sources for their members. They don't actually care about making sure that businesses stay open.
No,
they don't care about the distinction between an essential and a non-essential business. They don't care about what happens if a kid doesn't go to school for an entire year, what that does to his psyche, what that does to his development, his growth. They don't care about that, right?
No,
they care about dollars and cents, and they think that they can make theirs even if the economy shuts down. So that's what this organization's the whole goal is.
And frankly, we're going to have we've got some pretty exciting news about people that are coming into the organization. I just when I first sat down with a group of people and it's like, hey, these are the things we need to concentrate on. I was like, this is a brilliant idea, because this is something that can actually take hold in the communities, but it needs to be supported. And I think that's the thing that I want everybody to understand is, look, in the absence of doing nothing, we have to do something. I mean, they've raised what? $200 million, $100 million for Black Lives Matter and organizations giving to that. Some of the conversations I'm having with businesses are, listen, this will replace the Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to big businesses and having conversations. Other people are going to big businesses and having conversations and saying, look, you want a powerhouse, this is it. You know, we're going to put our teeth in and we're going to gnaw at the bone. We're going to go after them for the things that they're doing to nullify or take away our rights as a country. Right? We have to restore constitutional integrity, and we have to restore common sense. And those are the things that are missing right now. And if you think you can do that by not getting involved or doing things like this, right? Developing an organization that, frankly, we hope to plug into other organizations, I don't think you can. So I think you have to be willing to sacrifice something, right? And in this case, we're going to sacrifice everything because it's important. The kids and the grandkids that we have or don't have yet are really what we're fighting this battle for. But make no mistake, it is a battle. We're in a battle.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's interesting. I'm looking at an article in the Baltimore Sun right now. Trump retweeted a tweet that claimed that the CDC and doctors are lying to the American public, and the coronavirus task force pushed back and says none of us lied. Well, no, we went through this earlier in the show. They absolutely did lie to the American people. When people were running out to buy masks, they told everyone, don't buy a mask. A mask will not keep you safe. In fact, a mask actually might harm you more and do more harm than good by not only taking masks away from the health providers, but also giving people a false sense of security, thinking that the minute they have a mask on, it's like a bulletproof vest, they can go and do whatever they want. The CDC said that. That was CDC guidance in the early days of the pandemic. So it's unbelievable how they're able to just change their mind on this, which it makes sense. The reason this is called a novel coronavirus is because we had never seen it before. Now that news is kind of shifting as we're getting reports out of China that China knew about this for a long time and didn't tell the world about it. It might not be a novel coronavirus when all that it comes out, but the science is supposed to change. You're supposed to do research. It's supposed to guide the policy making. But every step of the way, these people have presented themselves as total subject matter experts, and what we say absolutely goes. And if you go against the WHO, if you go against the CDC, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, they'll all take you down. They'll block it. Even Nextdoor. I'm fighting my HOA in Nextdoor because we pay for a community pool, and they've closed the pool. It's the dumbest thing anyone's ever heard. The CDC literally says pools do not spread coronavirus, because it's chlorinated water, which is a disinfectant. You're around sunlight, heat, and humidity, all disinfectants, right? You get the virus from people. You don't get the virus from pools, and yet my HOA has closed it. So it's at all levels. If you talk on Nextdoor about it, they say, oh no, you're going against CDC guidelines. It's become so politicized, so weaponized. It's not about truth. They have an end goal: lock it down, and whatever they have to say to get us there, they're going to say it. And they're free to change their mind. But if you get it wrong, if we get it wrong, Joe, we get strikes from Facebook, and we're not allowed to go on the air anymore.
Yep.
But if the CDC gets it wrong and admits they get it wrong, oh well, that's just science. That's just the scientific method, right? It's not their fault. They're scientists. But you're not allowed to say anything that our fact checkers disagree with. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane, and it's so frustrating. It's beyond frustrating.
Just keep talking about it and keep pushing people to do more, right? Stand up, protest, right? These guys want 10,000 in the street. We get 10,000 in the street. We get 20,000 in the street. We get 30,000 in the street. But they keep changing the goalposts, Max. They keep changing the goalposts. Yeah. And until we get to the point where we're not willing to tolerate it anymore, it's going to get, either that or die. You choose, because that's what's going to happen. They're literally going to push us into a place where we are Venezuela. And if you don't think that that's what the outside bad actors want, that's what they want. They are actually training. They're trained Marxists. They're trained people that want to destroy everything this country stands for, and you're letting it happen.
Yeah, no, it's sad, but that's what's happening here. The people in Venezuela are eating rats. They're eating out of trash cans, right? It is beyond anything we've ever heard of. Yeah. And when you talk to a Marxist, when you talk to a socialist, when you talk to a Democrat socialist about that, instead of admitting that that's the end result of the policies they're pushing, you always hear, oh, well, they just didn't do it right. Right? They just didn't try communism right. They just didn't try socialism right. If you give us the power, we'll get it right this time. Everyone else who's ever tried it got it wrong, to the tune of millions of people dying. Right. Russia, China, Venezuela, Cuba, go down the list. Everyone that's tried it, it's failed, and tons of people died. But don't worry, Bernie Sanders, Democratic Socialists, Joe Biden, the Democrats, don't worry. Give them the power, and they'll get it right. Joe Biden doesn't know where he is at any given moment. Joe Biden doesn't even know what day it is. But don't worry, he's going to be the one to successfully implement socialism. Any final words as we wrap this up, Joe?
You know, you got to stand and fight. You got to fight. And I've never felt more convicted to tell people that it's time that you stand up. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how young you are. You have to be willing to stand up, and you have to be willing to fight. And fight doesn't mean that we go to violence, right? We don't act like these animals. We're willing to fight. We're willing to do whatever it takes to protect our republic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely right. And if Black Lives Matter protesters are allowed to march in the streets, then so are we.
Let's go.
So make sure you get out there. Make sure that you fight back. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. Remember that you can download the podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as the Google Play Store. You can also find us on the Podbean app as well as conservative-daily.com/podcast. We go live on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you check us out there. We're also on Parler, so search for us at Conservative Daily, all one word, and we will follow you back on Parler. So my name is Max McGuire. Thanks for Joe Otto. For sitting in. And again, remember that the fight to take back our country is not over, but the only way we win is if we all fight together.